at Vidcon. It's like, you know what? I'm here on Wednesday and I have absolutely like something empty. Like I feel really empty inside because it says like there's like nothing right here. Like nothing to do. Maybe you're just not as famous as you think you are, even if you think you're that famous. Nobody's as famous as they think they are in this age. But then to a person like me, I don't recognize anybody. If I ran into a guy that talked about camera equipment or some camera guru, like maybe I'd run into somebody that I'd like be like, oh yeah, I watched one of your videos about camera equipment. Oh, you're probably just famous to a small like subsegment of the YouTube ecosystem, usually. Like gurus are like famous to like their audience, and their audience is a fragment of the audience on YouTube. The reason why I'm not just like running out the gate niching down, because if I was just niching down right now, I'd be back at home at my recording studio. I would not be going out to a video conference trying to like further generalize my channel, you know? And so if you listen to what everybody tells you, they'll be like, niche down, do that, and like I said, you'll saturate your audience up until there is an audience for your niche. And then once that niche disappears like a fad, like video games, like you see those video game YouTubers, what happens when that video game stops being popular? A YouTuber dies. That channel's dead. It doesn't matter what they do. They can make another version of a Star Wars, you know, trilogy video and do it again and again and again. It doesn't matter. The niche died ages ago because the entire genre of that video game, nobody plays it anymore. That's the danger of oversaturating a niche. You call it like the Dalai Lama talking or something like that, you know?
Steven. My name is Steven with Purpose Lens Photo and Media.
Steven with Purpose Lens. But Steven, you know, he's like a videographer, and he's, you know, he has a lot of expertise with dealing with camera settings. Gotta like tell the audience here kind of what your YouTube channel is about.
So my YouTube channel is really centered just around helping people. I started out a long time ago, and in my journey, I could not find anybody on YouTube that was really helping. It was all just reviews and things like that. I found a few people. So I thought, okay, well, I know this problem hasn't gone away. It's actually gotten worse because there's more cameras and more gear and more things to talk about. So I wanted my channel to be a channel that people can come and get help for. And one of the things I push a lot is you don't need a lot of equipment. You don't need the most expensive equipment. You just need to know how to use the equipment. The more you know how to use your equipment, the more you can get out of it. Then you can upgrade.
Absolutely.
So that's
and that was another thing that we were debating about, because you know I speak about this more from like the perspective of like a businessy sort of YouTuber, and he's more of a technical, like how to get into the trenches, how to get into the very technical little nitty-gritty details of doing the camera work actually successfully and really well, so that like when you're actually putting out the videos and stuff, the quality is really optimized, so the quality of the shot is really good and stuff like that. I call that like having like real like expertise when it pertains to capture. Whereas in more in my case, like when I try to present information to my audience, I talk about finance, business, and just my personal life and my own experiences and stuff like that. So I've been talking to, you know, our new expert here. First started out with videography.
I started videography about 8 years ago now.
8 years?
About 8 years ago. My wife at the time was working for a company, and they had something called a plane pull. It's this big plane, and they tie a rope to it, and they pull the plane. And there was a photographer that was supposed to show up. He didn't show up. It was like an hour before that. He didn't show up, and they needed somebody. My wife said, my husband does photography. I really didn't. I mean, I played around with the camera, but I shot the event for them, and they liked it. They called me back a week later, another week later, and that was it. I got into videography.
Absolutely.
And then one of the ladies that worked at the place was getting married. She said, can you do my wedding? I was like, whoa, I guess. So I did it, and that was the start of it.
So you were a wedding videographer. That's how he got his start, you know, developing video content on YouTube. It pertains to, like, you know, versus your very first video versus the one that you produced lately. Like, what are the differences? What's your journey from going from like your first video on YouTube to the one that you now create today, and the quality of it?
I think that's a good question, by the way. I think the biggest difference is I'm not so focused on my gear. I'm focused on what I'm doing with it.
Right.
And that is, I believe, what the biggest difference is now. And that comes out in quality, because when you're just starting out, you're hearing, and this is again why my channel is what it is, but you're hearing you need this lens, you need this camera, you need to shoot at this bit depth, you need this bit rate, you need to have all these high quality things, and you're aiming for a picture quality that's pristine. However, you're not focused on what it is that you're shooting. So what has changed now is my story, what I'm conveying across, and I use the quality to help convey that.
So basically, his strategy is to start pivoting a bit more. Originally, it was about camera reviews, and you were just talking about the generic specifics of cameras and how they can potentially affect your performance as a videographer. Now you're talking about actual capture technique and how you're actually going to differentiate yourself in terms of actually being able to capture video with skill and basically improve your skill level with the way you set up your shots, the way you capture your shots, whether you're making adjustments on your video, your camera settings and stuff like that, or basically your strategy as far as, you know, video editing or better quality production over time. You know, you've basically improved upon it. You've probably taken it, you know, a couple steps. Talk about some of your editing techniques that kind of go with the, you know, the capture.
Well, I think what happens is your editing grows as well. So the more you get into your story, then your edit will kind of refine that. So like in music production, for instance, when they record in the studio, they'll record, but they make sure their levels are good. But then the final aspect of that is mastering. So you take that thing and you polish it and you work out all the little small kinks. And the same is true with editing. So with editing, the more you refine your skills in the beginning, on the back end, you can put more of your effort into refining what's there. It's hard to refine something that's not good anyway. So what you want to do is you want to hone your skills so you understand your camera. You can this goes for any camera. This could be your cell phone. I think a cell phone like this, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, you could take that and make a movie with it. But if you don't know how to use it, your editing and things like that aren't really going to matter. So that's, I don't know if that answers your question. But.
No, I agree with that. You know, the very first video that I ever produced, you know, was with a group of kids, 2 of them during college. It was from Arizona State University. And one of the things that kind of happened is that I realized I couldn't get my first take done correctly. So one of the strategies that they kind of taught me so that I would be a better videographer when I'm producing my videos like I'm doing right now for you guys is that I would have to take frequent pauses. And inside those pauses, I'm able to cut different segments to where I'm able to basically leverage dead space so that I can get to the segments where the information is really good and leave out information chunks that are bad. Before, when I was originally recording video, you'll notice that before you actually get good on camera, just being good talking to a camera is being able to know like how to talk in a way so that it's easy to edit in post, right? And some people make that mistake where they're talking to the camera and they're not talking correctly to it. So when they have to go back and edit the video footage, it's so difficult to edit because they never talked in a way so that it was easy to edit the video, right? And so even the weird like lump pauses that I'll do when I'm in the middle of recording, I leverage these pauses so that I can edit at the back end a lot easier. And that's just one of the small things that you recognize, that going from journey to like being an absolute beginner to being more of like an expert at being able to capture video and then capture quality video and then work on the back end of it. You would say that, with your channel though in particular, you're planning on talking about the specific nitty-gritty elements that will help somebody improve upon their skill, even regardless of whatever they're spending on the camera equipment.
Yeah, I think with editing too, I like to present editing as a framework, okay? Like what you just mentioned, speaking in a way that makes it easier to edit later on. These things are fundamental things, and I think it's going to help build a framework for your whole entire production. However, I think one of the keys that a lot of new people or newcomers struggle with is being themselves. So what happens is they take on this persona. They think they need to be like a news reporter. Hey, reporting live from... No, you don't have to do that. So the key is as you rehearse and do it more, you want to make sure you inject your personality into that. And the only way to do that is to make sure you don't just focus on this here. Focus on what it is that you have to say. And the more you speak to the camera, you're going to get comfortable behind the camera. So
absolutely. And that's like another thing I want to mention, guys, is that just having good camera presence is important. You know, there's always something that can be improved upon. You know, whether it's, you know, doing a better job of, like, you know, better camera settings, you know, better equipment, better back-end production, even using, you know, back-end effects and stuff like that. You know, there's always room for added improvement. And another thing we were talking about earlier, though, is multiple channel strategy, right?
Yes.
You know, you know, do you want to go into that, or should I talk about?
You can start it off.
Right. So, guys, you know, one thing I'm talking about, and I think, you know, more people in the YouTube community might go for, is having just multiple YouTube channels. The meaning, you know, the reason for that is that a single YouTube channel might not accomplish everything you want to do on YouTube.
Exactly.
Like, for example, like, you know, I'm a YouTube advertiser, and I don't want to be a YouTube advertiser trying to run, you know, conversion advertising on my single YouTube channel where I'm also creating organic content to reach audiences. Those two things cancel each other out. You can't always be selling to an audience and then trying to provide that organic content and that organic long-term viewership type content that's more geared towards media consumption.
Right.
Media consumption is different from impulsive purchases. So those two different things can't be congruent. Like, content that's geared towards impulsive purchases or just advertisements that are geared towards, you know, generating sales from a funnel. Whereas if you're trying to create like a separate channel for, you know, weightlifting, and you're generally considered a video game channel, you don't want to be a video game channel that tries to throw the weightlifting on top of that. It's too different and too jarring of a genre switch within the same, you know, category, I think, kind of. And
as good as YouTube is, and I'll say this, as good as YouTube is, what it's not good at doing is showing a person's whole entire scope of who they are. We're multifaceted individuals. Nobody has one element to them. I like videography, but I like cars. I like a bunch of different other things.
True that.
And it's very hard to put all of that in one thing. So
that's why I created a vlog.
Yeah.
That's the closest I think of everything. Like that is like, I think like the vlogging format is what made me get into that, though.
Yeah.
Is because I'm able to kind of use that as the glue to get to all those other topical areas to a light extent, because I do like restaurants. I do like going to conferences and events. I do like, you know, interviewing people, but I also like to be the main subject in the frame sometime and talk about my esoterically nerdy topics like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And with the vlogging format, I can include this entire interview dialogue and then include the other aspects of the day that were more mundane, and still package it all. And even though it's not going to hit a broad audience, for people that just like to watch journal entry content, it's that type of content that allows a broad interest individual like myself to just be able to express multiple things at the same time. Just like what you're talking about for like a single channel that can kind of hit broad. But for those, but it's not a great strategy to go broad at all. Don't create a broad channel is what he's saying, unless the genre helps support that.
I think one of the people that we talk about all the time, or that other people, is like Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Like, we see all his videos, he does all these things, but who is he really? And I don't think we really know who he is. Now, he could start another channel that's just behind the scenes of who he really is.
True.
And I think people will watch it because people are interested in who he is. And one of the things I've learned with YouTube now is the personality is the thing to sell now. Like, I think people want to know who you are. And
and in 30 minutes, his episodes don't give you a whole lot of time.
No,
he's a host of a show. He's not exactly the main character
not at all.
that they're trying to describe in any particular episode either.
So I think for people who are starting out, people that are new, first of all, finding out who you are, I think is important. And then pushing whatever it is that you want to say and that you want to give your audience. But that's not the end of it. And whatever you put on your channel is not the totality of who you are.
No, it's not. And no matter how hard you try to get to that point, you know, like I'm trying really hard, you know, because I feel like there's an opening to be like a Casey Neistat like vlogger right now, because Casey Neistat, he kind of retired. He stopped vlogging on a daily basis, and then on top of that, there's nobody in Los Angeles that kind of wants to meet that archetype that just wants to broad vlogly and go in depth and then try to do it full time, and then just kind of publish it in a serial format for as long as they can. I think what's interesting to me is that there's a lot of room on this platform right now where, for, you know, creating content, you know, a third pillar that I was thinking about though is just being able to, you know, record freeform. You know, like we were talking about freeform content creation earlier, right? And one thing that I was really trying to hone in on was the fact that, you know, if there is an area where the marginal investment makes a lot of sense in video production, it's having a lot of storage volume and being able to store a lot of your raw formatted videos. Because if you have a lot of raw formatted videos to work off of for your edits, you're able to generally produce a higher quality video.
Yeah.
Because if you have a lot of pre-recorded footage, even if you have a lot of trash, being able to just chop away at a lot of trash will still leave behind a lot of bits. And with those bits, you can create a lot of quality.
I kind of approach my B-roll that way. So like here, I'm gonna get a lot of B-roll. Now I may use some of this B-roll in this video that I'm doing for a vlog. I may use it somewhere else too.
Right.
So I think, speaking to what you're saying, but in a different way, that I think that just shooting in quantity has a good, it has a good outcome if you do it correctly though.
Right.
You want to make sure that the things you're talking about and the things that you're shooting have value.
Right.
Because I can't just get on here and go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
Accurate. Right.
I might be able to use that somewhere.
True.
But if I'm speaking things that, you know, have value,
it has to be
overall,
narrow. You're right.
then I could use those things. So
Right.
yeah, I do agree with that though.
Yeah. Just generally speaking, like, you know, being in that position to, you know, invest into certain areas, but not always just, you know, buying up the stack to a better sensor and stuff like that, because that's expensive. You know, maybe some areas where it really works is like just being able to buy extra storage, spending more time studying, you know, video capture technique, as you were just talking about earlier. You know, mention your channel one more time. Plug your channel so people.
My channel is Purpose Lens Photo and Media.
Right.
That's all across all platforms.
Okay, and then for Purpose Lens and Media, you're talking, you know, more about technique. Is what you're thinking about, right? So
it's kind of a mix of everything.
Right.
The biggest thing that I'm trying to push on my channel that I've been pushing is you just don't need the best out there. The best equipment does not equal the best content.
Right.
The more you put your effort into it and the more you hone your actual skills, that's when you're going to see the picture quality and your production quality go up. And I know this is true. If you look at all the best or the biggest YouTubers out there, they don't have the best quality. Some of the people that are in my genre have the best picture quality you're gonna see. It's cinematic, it's all kinds of different views that you won't see anywhere else, but they're not getting the same views as other people because it's the content, it's not the picture quality. So I'm telling people, use your cell phones, use your GoPros. You don't need the best equipment to start. Now, if you wanna get better equipment, that's fine, but make sure your skills are growing with that. You can't just grow your. This is not like they have to go together. Like
there is a caveat though.
Yeah.
You should still compound and reinvest your money into better equipment though. Because I mean, do disclose he does have an FX30. I mean, like, please show your camera on frame. You know, because you know if you have better quality equipment, like he has an FX30. You know, and you know, with the Sony FX30, you can capture really high quality video, right? You didn't start out this way, but you're now at a point where you do have a high quality video equipment, and that's what's allowing you to then, you know, get to these better quality shots. You were mentioning something earlier, though, that kind of got to me. You did mention, though, you did invest into a better quality video.
Yeah.
And then somehow the viewership, like, why do you think it dropped on your channol?
I really don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but it does prove that picture quality alone is not the answer for growth on YouTube. It's not. I think what it is, like I said before, your camera has to support where you are.
Right.
And I think that's just a perfect example. If you were just learning how to drive on a track, you could go out and get a Porsche GT3. You could, and you'll probably crash it.
Oh, yeah,
because
easily.
you have no skills. I would say start out on like a Miata.
Yeah, like I'm starting out on a Miata version of a camera right now.
And here's the thing. A person who knows how to drive, a professional driver, could probably beat me in a Miata, even though I'm driving a faster car.
True.
And that's because they No, they could.
Most likely,
it's because they have the skill to know how to make that car go around the curves at maximum speed where I don't.
True.
So, and the same is true with cameras.
True.
The ZVE10, there's people out there who can get more out of it than someone with an FX30 that doesn't know what they're doing can get out. The ZV10 is going to win every time, hands down. So it's not about the camera, it's the person behind the camera. As your skills grow, then so can your cameras.
And the quality of the content can actually improve a lot. I mean, there are different elements to just video in general. Like you can story tell, you can create even more high quality reviews, you can create even more high quality education content, you can create even more entertaining videos than you thought you could create before.
Right.
You know, there's always room on the like the mile, I think, isn't there?
Yeah. But I think we live in a society, and I don't want to go off, but we live in a society that promotes the best.
Yeah.
If you type in Google the best, everything comes up. But we don't realize that we don't need the best. And the best is subjective anyway. I'm not going to get into all that. I think the question should be, what's the best for me?
True.
Where I am right now, what's the best?
At that point, yeah.
And that's it. And I think for most people, the ZVE10 is going to be the best camera for you, hands down.
Right. I did notice you have a couple of reviews on your channel.
I have a lot of reviews of it.
Is that your B camera by any chance? Do you still have it with you?
I have it here, but it's in the hotel.
No, I understand that. Yeah, who carries around two cameras with them at the same time, right?
So yeah, it's in the hotel. I have specific uses, like when I just want something really tiny.
Right.
And just so I use the ZVE10.
Yeah. It is a really good portable camera. Like it has like that discreteness to it that lets you kind of like capture something where it looks like you look a little bit more like an amateur videographer. There's less of that intimidation factor while you're doing it. So people might just give you the benefit of the doubt. They don't think that you're like going to publish this in front of a big audience or something like that. But obviously you do want to have a humongous main cam. Well, your gear right there, like you have the G Master lens, you have a Comica as far as like your lavalier setup, and then you know, and it's an FX30 with a
quick release plate on it, and I have these tripod legs from a DJI gimbal, and this ball head from a Joby Gorilla Pod.
Okay.
So it's a hodgepodge of things kind of put together. I have a cage on here.
Basically, it costs about $2,500 for you guys wondering to get it all together.
I mean, but really the biggest difference between this camera and that is just the bits. So this is a 10-bit camera, that's an 8-bit camera.
Right.
Basically what that equates to is more color information. So this can give you more cinematic looks, and you just have a lot more you could do in post. But
so to get to more of what his videos look like his setup costs around $2,500. My setup to get to where I'm looking at, it's about $1,200 out the gate to have all the accessories that where I'm at, and then to have the accompanying lavalier, the tripods, having extra lights and stuff like that. Just to get started, to be realistic, you know, where this video's at, it costs about $1,100, $1,200 to get started. To get to where he's producing right now, about $2,500 to $3,000 out the gate to get started, somewhere around there, you know? Yeah,
but this camera, and then I'm not going to talk forever about it, but this camera is a good camera. It's a 6K sensor, downscaled to 4K. So when everybody's talking about the K and all that, that's a 6K sensor. So looking at the cost, you might think it's not that great, but it's a great camera. So is this, is the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It shoots ProRes RAW. Or ProRes 10-bit. So it's good. They're all, I agree. Just about every camera you buy nowadays is more than good enough to shoot your YouTube videos with, hands down.
True. I mean, like, you know, if you can just start, you know, anything's better than nothing. I always say though, you know, I like where I started with like being able to, like, you know, for the past month produce video with this particular camera. I personally would recommend it to my audience. But then after that, you know, I think in a couple months, I'm probably upgrading to what he has right here as far as like the Sony FX30. So you should see FX30 footage on my channel in about a couple months as well. But, you know, just for a comparison test, I mean, like, you know, if you want to get started, you're spending about $800 to about $1,000 to get going with the ZVE10. To get to where he's at, about $2,500.
And one thing, the last thing I'll say about comparing these two, if I were to set up this camera and the ZVE10 and shoot the same exact thing with the same setting, you'll see no difference. No difference at all. You'll see the exact same picture. If you say you can see something different, it's going to be it's not noticeable unless you zoom way in. The thing that makes this different is the color information, which means in post, when you're trying to change colors of things and have things have a mood and a look to it, that's where this shines, and that's what that doesn't have. The other thing is this has a fan in it too. I also noticed blur. That's going to be the same. It's going to be the same as well? They're both APS-C sensors. The blur has more to do with your lens and your aperture settings. Oh, wow. Okay, wow. So that's what's going to give you the blur. This is a kit lens here. You can get blur with that. If you get close to something and zoom out, you'll get that depth of field. It's called a shallow depth of field. So you'll get that with that lens.
Right.
I have a video on it. Just look at it. It's
Yeah,
called The
true.
Kit
I
Lens is
recommend
Better
it.
Than What
Yeah.
You Think. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was nice talking to you, Alex.
Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you.
I fell apart when I looked into your eyes, 'cause I knew what you really felt inside. Didn't say a word, everyone assumed you're fine. But it hurts sometimes, keeping everything inside. Step to sudden hit the light switch, people party in the distance. You're not invited cause you're distant. Doesn't seem a soul even know that you exist. Mine's running a marathon. You wanna try to join the fun, but flip a penny is the wrong pick. And now you're drinking, spending money on a bad bet. You hide away from the crowd. Nobody ever sees you. And the ones that are loud don't even try to meet you. Kept a little smile so nobody would see through, but I do. I fell apart when I looked into your eyes, 'cause I knew what you really felt inside. Didn't say a word, everyone assumed you're fine. But it hurts sometimes, keeping everything inside. Keeping everything inside. Keeping everything inside. Feeling heavy when your head is in the clouds. Can't ignore it, you can feel you falling down. Wanting help, but you know nobody's around. Everybody's at that party downtown. Wanna go, but there's no one to drive you. But you don't need those people to like you. Wishing you could be loud. I know the silence hurts you. You don't belong with that crowd. There's others waiting for you. Kept a little smile so nobody would see through, but I do. I fell apart when I looked into your eyes, 'cause I knew what you really felt inside. Didn't say a word, everyone assumed you're fine. But it hurts sometimes, keeping everything inside. Keeping everything inside. Keeping everything